Review copy provided by Nintendo. Well, thanks a bunch, Nintendo. Shamburger. Hello, my beat-keeping friends. Arlo here, and today we're reviewing Cadence of Hyrule. What? What's this I see? An indie property and Zelda merging into one fascinating and rather unprecedented package? Surely this must be some jest. But nay, 'tis no jest. And today we're finding out if these two properties create sweet harmony or yucky nails on a chalkboardy dissonance. Let's get started. Whoosh! This game features an incredibly unique style of gameplay, and it's of course amazing how it was adapted to fit the Legend of Zelda series, and yet I positively cannot talk about anything until I go over the presentation and sound. I can't, because this game is an absolute joy to look at and to listen to. I feel that Minish Cap is hands down the best looking 2D Zelda because of its crisp, beautiful sprite work, and Cadence of Hyrule delivers even more so on this front. That classic Zelda style has never looked more alive, with detailed character models and fluid animations and vibrant colors. I love the developers' take on the world of Zelda and all that, but I will say, every once in a while I do look at it and, completely to its credit, I get kinda sad about how Zelda games just don't look like this anymore. I know I often complain about the overuse of pixel graphics in the indie space, but when done right, it is just wonderful. And of course, Zelda has the whole nostalgia thing going for it, I will 100% admit. And then you probably saw this coming, but the music. Holy cow, the music, you guys. Many covers and remixes and whatnot have been created using songs from Zelda's long musical history. Game Drops alone has published more than it is humanly possible to listen to, but this game's soundtrack features some of the best. I'm big on EDM, and these tunes are so energetic and exquisitely arranged that it's basically impossible for me to not be bobbing my head and tapping my foot the whole time while I play, especially considering its core gameplay mechanic. Speaking of which, the basic idea is that the world and all movement is grid-based, and though you can move around freely when you're alone, if you enter a location with monsters in it, you can only move to the beat. When the game had me calibrate the timing of my button presses at the beginning, I got all nervous that this was going to be some hardcore rhythm game, but fortunately the timing is very forgiving. There's enough wiggle room that you don't have to stress about getting every beat exactly perfect. Also, fortunately for you, enemies have to move to the beat as well, and this is where it gets interesting. Each enemy has a specific movement and attack pattern. Learning these patterns is the key to victory, and with the beat mechanic, it becomes a really interesting mix of action and strategy. To damage enemies, you simply run into them and you'll swing your weapon automatically. This does lead to the occasional annoyance with certain weapons when you're trying to move but you swing instead, but for the most part, it's an intuitive way of handling combat. Trying to time your sword swings with every beat would probably get pretty annoying. One thing I'll say about the combat, there is a pretty steep learning curve. It's a gameplay style that's unlike anything I've ever played, and it took me a good while to get the hang of it. And in fact, even now, I can't say I'm particularly good at it. I will say though that while the gameplay is always fun, it is at its best in boss chambers. There are only a handful of bosses, but each one was a highlight for me. Instead of working with the patterns of several smaller enemies and taking them out one by one, here it's all about reading the entire board and building a strategy from that. It feels like the most tightly designed, fully realized implementation of the whole beat concept. My first time through, I found that each one provided just enough challenge as well, and best of all, they've got instrument pun names. I'm in love! In addition to sword combat, you've got a gigantic load of additional weapons and items at your disposal. I mean, this is a Zelda game after all. You've got all the basic ones you can imagine, and they've got functionality both inside and outside of battle, naturally. Some of these are super useful, though it's one of those things where generally I barely end up using any of them. Like, I'm sure if I mastered each one, I could totally dominate in combat, but I don't think I'm good enough to be making those kinds of split-second calls. It's always easier to just jump in with my sword. This is a problem I have with other characters as well. You can play as Link, Zelda, or Cadence, and they've all got their own strengths and can use a few different abilities, but they're similar enough that I always just go with Link. The overworld is your basic Hyrule setup. You've got your grasslands, your Lost Woods, your Gerudo Desert, etc. It's all randomly generated, and there are monsters to fight and treasure to earn on just about every screen. The random element is nice, obviously, because it means that every playthrough will be different, but it also has something of a negative impact on the design. Most squares on the map are these jumbles of baddies and ledges, and it's fun not knowing how each one will be set up, But sometimes it just seems a little too random. You keep expecting a puzzle or something, but there's a lot of stuff that serves no purpose. Stairs and platforms that lead nowhere. It's just a little messy to look at sometimes. The dungeons also suffer from the randomness. Don't get me wrong, they're all fun, but they're nearly identical. You're surrounded by diggable walls filled with groups of monsters and treasure. There'll be a shop in there somewhere and 1 or 2 skull rooms where the door shuts behind you and you've got to beat some guys. Find the key and open the one locked door and then do this all again in another big room, and then you get the key to the boss door. First room, second room, boss. Just about every time. If you die at any point, the room you're in resets, so you've got to dig through it all again. It's slightly annoying that it resets, but at the same time it ups the challenge to a more satisfying degree, and these dungeon rooms are short enough that it's never too much of a problem. On the subject of death though, all your world progress and major items and heart containers are permanent. The word roguelike gets thrown around a lot in talk about the game, but that's really not accurate. On top of uncleared dungeon rooms resetting, you also lose all your rupees and any temporary items you're holding. These items include stat boosting rings and boots, torches that improve vision based on different factors, and extra fancy shovels that make digging easier. This is all pretty well balanced because you never feel too dispirited by a death, but if you're on a roll and you've got a lot of great stuff, it's a very good incentive to stay alive. Diamonds are another form of currency to supplement rupees, and these also stick around when you kick the bucket. Before jumping back into the game, you're brought to a little store with some randomized items you can spend your diamonds on. There are a few permanent items to buy, like heart pieces, but most of the time these are temp items, so you can get a bit of a head start when you get back to it. All of this combined makes for an exploration system that's a lot of fun, but it does have pros and cons. You can do the dungeons in any order, so there's always new territory to press into, and it feels really good to nab a significant item in some random chest somewhere. You're constantly rewarded for going off the beaten path and killing all the monsters you can. But then sometimes you'll clear a tricky screen and all your hard work will be for a ring or something that you lose when you die 5 minutes later. I guess you kind of have to decide how much extra work you want to do to potentially make yourself stronger. Which brings me to my final point. Cadence of Hyrule is best enjoyed by someone who wants to run through it multiple times using multiple different strategies. A once through is definitely fun, but considering the steep price, it's a pretty darn short game. It begs the player to shape the experience to their liking. Want to make it easier? Explore a lot and get a lot of hearts and items. Want more of a challenge? Run straight to each dungeon and major progression item. Or turn on permadeath, or the double speed option. There's even an option to make it so that you don't have to move on the beat and you can take your time planning every single move, which almost turns it into a completely different game, like a turn-based tactics game. There are multiple leaderboards so you can see how fast you can beat the game or in how few steps. This is a game that wants you to learn the different items and adapt them into your combat strategies. It wants you to learn how to use the different characters to their fullest potential. It wants you to really explore every nook and cranny of its world and design. And if I'm honest, that's not something I'm into. I like to be rewarded in some ways by playing a game multiple times and learning the ins and outs, but I want the base experience to be fully satisfying more than anything. Fortunately though, that satisfaction is there for the most part. If you just want to run through once or twice, but you're also not concerned about the price, then absolutely get this game, because I've had a terrific time with it. And if you're the kind of person that wants to dig a little deeper and experiment with different strategies and harder game modes, then you're looking at quite the feast, my friend. Cadence of Hyrule provides a very unique and very novel style of gameplay while feeling so much like an authentic Zelda game that it actually scratches that Zelda itch decently well. And most importantly, it acts as an example that I can only hope will be followed in the future. It proves that yes, collaborations between Nintendo and small indie studios are apparently possible, and yes, they can turn out great. I give Cadence of Hyrule a jumpin' and jivin' 6 out of 7. Before we go, look at this! So, Nintendo sent me this box. They've sent me like gifts on a couple of occasions, but usually it's like to commemorate a specific game or something. I don't know what this is. This was just out of the blue. They were like, can we send you something or some stuff? And I was like, okay. So this is that. I have literally no idea what's gonna be inside, but what do you say we find out? Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? You ready? Oh my gosh, what's in it? What's in it? What's in it? Oh, it's some stuff. It's some stuff, all right. Oh, it's a present. Oh, it says, hey there, Arlo. I'm Arlo. That's me. Ooh. Oh, ready for this? Are you ready for this? I'm ready for this. If I can get this thingy off. Oh, man. The ribbon is off. The ribbon is off, people. I'm tearing the paper now. Oh, a box inside of the paper. I did not anticipate that. We wanted to send you a special treat. You're hyping it up. You're hyping it up, mans. Okay, now I really do need scissors. Right, I've gotten these scissors and cut the box. These are supposed to be for hair. I use them on tape. Don't tell them, I guess. Okay. Okay, ready? I'm ready. Oh, what the heck? It's another paper. It's more paper. Featuring something you can farm. What does that mean? What does that mean at all? Oh, I'm removing the paper on the second or third package. This is really getting intense. It's more tape. It's more tape. And something you can eat. Oh, I love things I can eat. You're really pumping me up here, man. Okay. Here it is. It's another box. It's another box. A couple of games you have yet to review. What? What do you, things I can eat and farm and games I could, what is that? Okay. No tape on this one. No tape on this one. There's tape on this one. There's tape on this one too. Oh my goodness. What can you do? Give me whatever it's my finger's stuck. Give me what is inside of this box now. I want it. What is it? What is it? Stardew Valley and Overcooked 2. In here? What are you talking about? Yeah, I can't show them or else you'll be able to redeem them. Oh, man. Look at that. Stardew Valley and Overcooked 2. Nintendo, you really made a mess here. You really made a mess in here. That's super awesome, though. I've heard Overcooked 2 is terrific. I've never played it, but I've been meaning to. And, oh, man, you guys, you have cursed me. Did you know that? Do you know how hard I've been trying to not buy Stardew Valley? Do you know that? I don't want to play Stardew Valley. If I play Stardew Valley, I'll never stop playing Stardew Valley for 1,000,000 hours, and I can't afford that kind of time. Nintendo, I do not thank you for this package. I do not thank you for oh, you've cursed my life. I hope you liked me covering Nintendo games, because I never will again. I'm just going to be playing Stardew Valley for the rest of my life. No, seriously, thank you, Nintendo. Thank you so much. It was a very, very pleasant surprise. I'd say the journey was even more fun than the destination. I mean, I love the destination, but man, that was good. I like that. I like a surprise present like that. Well, see you all later. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, man. It's going to take an hour to clean all this up.